could be alone between city lights. We don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, you guys? I'm Joshua Bardwell. It's Monday night. We're gonna learn today. We're gonna learn. How y'all doing out there? I got some real celebrities in the chat today. Everybody. Oh! There's Ladrib is here. TAC FPV is here. I'm not gonna say which of those guys is more important to me, but TAC was asking to come over and fly at my house, and I said, I'm sorry, man, the coronavirus thing, I can't do it. So there's an upside to the coronavirus thing. You can use that. You can use that. You fill in anybody. No, I'm just teasing. TAC, I love you, man. I don't know why. I always feel like picking on TAC. He seems like he's taking it in good humor. Drew has famously got a hairless cat. A lot of people have mixed feelings about hairless cats. By mixed feelings, I mean they don't like them. But they should, because hairless cats are awesome. No, hang on. Stop spamming words phrases. What did he? Okay, so hang on. Nightbot, you're messing up my routine, Nightbot. Nightbot has no moderator powers, for the record. I took away Nightbot's mod role. So once we get Nightbot dialed in, then I'll give its mod role back. But I want to make sure that Nightbot is not, like, actually being... So just ignore Nightbot. But we'll keep an eye on, like, for example, what did Hamad Anis say? He just said, ha, 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 ha. That's not spamming. That's just saying, ha, ha. So hang on. Let's go into Nightbot. I'm not going to... like show you guys in case I accidentally like reveal my password or something. Nightbot, you interrupted my routine. See, I got it. That's my fault. That's really my fault. Spam protection Repetitions. See, I want it to stop if you repeat the same thing again and again and again. All right, screw you, Nightbot. Disable. We'll disable that. So anyway, they some people like hairless cats and other people don't, but they're amazing. They're wonderful. I thought, Drew. Let's see if I can find it. Drew, where's a picture of your cat online? Let's see if we can. Let's find a picture of Drew's cat on Instagram. Oh yeah, this is great. This is great. Look at this. Look at this. Now. Oh, come on. Do I have to? I can't right-click open a new. Oh my God. Thanks, Instagram. She's an adorable cat. That's an adorable cat. We got two of them. He got another one so they can be friends. And now he and his two naked cats can self-isolate together. Keep him company. Keep him company while he tears apart his car. I don't know if you guys saw his latest vlog. This guy can tear it. Drew, when I was down in Orlando last, Drew said, "Hey, you've got incandescent dome light bulbs, and it really looks they don't look great. So let me trade them out for LED bulbs." I was like, I don't know if I want to tear my car apart. He was like, "It's no big deal. You just open the dome up and you freaking." I was like, "That's fine. I like it." Then I find out he's just ripped his whole dash apart, just replacing LEDs, soldering them, programming. I think he could have probably changed the bulbs on my car without a problem. So there you go. I don't know if anybody's been keeping up. How has Ken Heron's live stream gone? Ken Heron said he was going to do a 24-hour live stream. Is he still doing the 24-hour live stream? Live now. Oh my God.
Let's call
Ken Heron.
Let's call Russ. I can
Doing a 24-hour live stream. How about that? I may go on after this. Oh my goodness. So, how's everybody doing out there? I'm doing all right. Y'all doing all right? They told me that because of coronavirus, I had to stay home. I was not allowed to go to any sporting events, and I had to limit contact with people outside my family. And I said, "So what's changed?" I'm an introvert. I stay inside a lot, as you might know. I spend all day in my basement making videos, and when I need to fly, I don't go anywhere. And finally, I have a reason. I have a reason to just fly in my yard. I have a reason to not leave the house. I really wish Curb Your Enthusiasm was running. I think they finished their season, but it seems like this is a ripe opportunity for a Larry David style character to have an excuse to not go anywhere. So, Casey McBride, staying home sucks. Can't take the kids out. Going crazy before this is over. Casey McBride, I don't know where in the world you are, but many of the places I've heard of that are isolating, you're still allowed to leave the house. You just have to stay at least 6 feet away from other people. And if you think about it, so let's think about that, because like this is relevant to all of us. What's the goal? Okay, first of all, I'm not a medical professional. I'm just a dude who reads a lot of stuff on Reddit. Okay, but let's think this through. The goal of the self-isolation and the social distancing is to slow the spread of the virus. If you are communicable, if you're sick, and you go out and you just cough all over 20 people, like think if you've made 20 people sick, and if everybody does that, the virus spreads faster. So going outside your house, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're in a place in the world where they've said don't do that, I mean, obviously you can't do that. But going outside, right, you're not going to spread it simply by leaving your house. You're going to spread it by being in proximity with other people. And if you think about it, like eventually the density of people gets high enough that you're not social distancing anymore, right? If you have just hundreds and hundreds of people on a beach, you're all not 6 feet away from each other. But if you go out for a jog, right, as long as you stay away from other people, you're all right. So take those kids out. Take them out into the yard. Take them out for a walk. Just stay away from other people, right? Sir, I'm going to need you to step back. Why? Do you have coronavirus? No, do you? See, that's the thing. You can't know. You can't know. Edward Liu is saying something in, I think it's, I'm going to guess Dutch. Edward Liu, what are you saying, man? I'm translating it, Edward. I'm translating it. Google Translate. Edward Liu is saying, I like to eat the food, man. Delicious cat, delicious. Okay, Edward. I think you've said it enough times, my friend. Yeah. So, Post-it says, we're going to start, by the way, we're going to start this stream with a little bit of talk about coronavirus, and then we're going to do the FPV Q&A thing that you're all here for. But I feel like it's like, let's just spend 10 minutes talking about coronavirus, because you haven't heard enough about it already, right? But I feel like as a PSA kind of a thing, you can get it from touching other surfaces that have been infected, right? That is true. That is true. Somebody sent me a letter, a letter, yeah, in the mail. Somebody sent me a chat today, and they said, hey, watch out. People are getting coronavirus from touching gas station pumps. And I'm like, yeah? Had you not put two and two together yet? Any surface that is touched by people, humans are disgusting. Apparently we touch our faces all the freaking time. Like, don't even think about it until somebody says, hey, you could die if you touch your face too much. And then you're like, I love touching my face, though. Just touch it all the time. So you touch your face, you touch the gas station handle, you touch the doorknob, whatever. Then somebody else touches it, then they touch their face, boom, coronavirus. So any commonly touched surface, and it's called hand hygiene. If you work in a hospital, of course, you know a lot about this. But average humans don't think about it. Maybe we should think about it more. Because coronavirus is bringing this all to a head. But we all have nasty viruses all the time. And we're all touching gas station pumps and door handles. And we're touching our faces. And maybe we should all just be thinking just a little bit more about this the rest of the time. I don't know. So maybe have some... Here's the deal. Just think about it like it's almost like a game. Like, I go out, I'm going to fill up my car. This happened to me. And I open the car door and I'm like, okay, I'm on high alert. I must not touch my face. Okay, I have touched the handle with this hand. Okay, I'm filling up the car. Do not touch the face. Oh, don't touch your cell phone. Okay, okay, I'm going to open the car door with this hand. I'm going to get back in and I'm going to sanitize. Okay. Okay, maybe that was a little extreme, but yeah. So. Okay. Anyway, yeah. And the bottom line is 507RC says, unless you absolutely have to, stay home. Stay home. If you have to go to work, you gotta do what you gotta do. If you're in an essential job, you gotta do what you gotta do. But making him a moderator, you need to be a moderator. 507. But like my sister, she says these folks down the street every Sunday they have a big volleyball gathering at their house, and sure enough, 10 cars over there. They're all playing volleyball. Stop it! Stop it! That's a problem. That is a problem. Stop it! Don't do that. Nick Sebring works in the medical field. I got to go to work. God bless, Nick. God bless. A lot of people, a lot of nurses and doctors are getting hit very hard by this. They're either getting hit hard because they don't have enough PPE and they're getting exposed. Some of them are dying. Or they're getting hit hard because even if they don't get sick, they're just seeing the worst of this. You say, oh, well, 30%, 50% of cases are mild. Only 3% of cases are extreme. 6% of people die. Whatever the numbers are. Well, if only 3% of people die, and that's 500 people that this one nurse in this one hospital has to watch die, that's pretty freaking hard. So we all got to be doing what we got to do. Okay. All right. Let's move on. We've done our PSA, and now it's time to get on with the FPV chat. Here's what we got going on, guys. Up here in the upper right, we got the questions. You guys are going to ask questions. I'm going to answer them as best I can. Down here in the lower right is the super chats. I don't want you guys to give let's just skip the super chats tonight. If you have $5, $10 to give, find somebody in your local community to give it to. There are going to be a lot of people who need it a lot more than me, so that's what you should do. I will still read super chats, but I encourage you to save that money, give it to somebody in your local community who needs it, and more. And over here on the left, we got the Discord, and these are my patrons over on the Discord. Thank you, patrons. What's up, patrons? So, we're going to answer questions. And let's start with a question. I heard a question before the stream began, which was, what's a good way to get sponsored? What's a good way to get sponsored as a pilot? That is a very common question. There's no one right answer, but hang on, drink some strawberry something. How to get sponsored? The number one way to get sponsored is to act as if you are sponsored, by which I mean be a good ambassador for the product that you want to get sponsored by. So let's say you want to get sponsored by Get FPV. Well, what you do is start making tutorial videos about Lumineer products, right? Do a build with their products. You're going to have to buy it out of pocket. Interview for the job by doing the job, okay? Be on the Get FPV forum and be super helpful and just answer questions all day. And people will notice. The problem is people say, I want to get sponsored. And that what they mean is, I want someone to give me free stuff so I could just fly all day for free. And it's like, well, that's not, everybody wants that. The way you can earn a sponsorship is by demonstrating that you are a great ambassador for the brand, a great supporter and knowledgeable about the products. And at the end of the day, the reason you get sponsorships is because you're going to sell products, right? That's the bottom line. So Tack says, being sponsored is hard work. Tack, tell us about it, man. Tell us about it in the chat. Tack has some sponsorships. Obviously, some sponsors are more liberal than others, make you work harder than others, but obviously the more valuable the sponsorship is, the harder you're going to have to work to get it. But that is actually, that's actually the answer. Be visible to the vendor, be a good ambassador and a supporter of their product, be an enthusiastic user of the product, and eventually someone will probably notice you. Stephen Clark wants to know, what's a good free video editing software? Stephen Clark, no question, the best free editing software is DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is incredibly powerful. You could do literally anything you need to do on it, almost. Like, it might not be able to do advanced, like, compositing and effects like After Effects, but anything in the video editing domain, color, grading, color grading, Resolve can do that. The problem is DaVinci Resolve is a little bit of a learning curve. It's not easy to use, but it's free and anybody can download it. If that's what you want to do, then that's where you should look. There are other free editors like Shotcut. Filmora is free to use, but it watermarks if you don't pay for it. So there are various other free ones, but if you really want to just go whole hog, DaVinci Resolve, it does have a learning curve, though. Let's see. Post It in the Discord wants to know, I have a question about your beginner build series. Post It says, this is the flight controller that I use. And I want to know if it can support 8 LED strips on the top and bottom of the arms. So, Post It, the way LED strip works is the LED strips are in series, one after the other, after the other, after the other. There's a single LED strip pad somewhere on here. I'm not actually sure where it is. Now, there it is. There it is right there, LED. And Betaflight supports up to 32 individual programmable LEDs. So as long as you don't have more than 32 individual LEDs, the flight controller will support it. Now, if you wire the LED strips in parallel with each other, it does work. And what happens is that if you have 3 LED strips with, let's say, 8 LEDs altogether, that's 24 total LEDs. But because you've wired them in parallel, like a Y, they only count as 8 individual LEDs, but they're all going to have the exact same programming. So that when you wire them in parallel, they're not individually addressable anymore. So what you could do is you could wire the individual arms 1, 2, 3, 4 in series, and then the top and bottom in parallel. So the top and bottom are always the same as each other, but each individual arm is addressable. And then you would have 32 divided by 4. 4 times 8 is 32. You could have 8 LEDs on each individual arm. You actually have 16, but because they're in parallel, it only counts as 8. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. The other question you got to ask posted is how the LEDs are going to get powered. Most flight controllers, the voltage regulator that's built in is not powerful enough to run 16 or 32 programmable LEDs. You may need either buy LEDs that run off a VBAT, which is the simplest thing to do, or get a separate voltage regulator, 2 or 3 amp regulator. Yeah. Let's see here. Does Bardwell have a wife? We never see her. Where is she? Yeah, I do. I have a wife. I have 2 kids. They're not really on my channel much. They're just. I don't feel like subjecting them to the abuse that I go through, or being a public figure. Zachary Strominger says, you posted a beginner series a while ago. Do you still suggest building and using that? Because I still want to pick parts from scratch. Zachary, the series I posted a little while back is decent. I still like the flight controller and ESC and video transmitter that I use. That Holy Bro stack there are other good stacks out there, but it still holds its own. The camera, the micro arrow camera that I use, probably you would replace that today with like a Ratel or a Toothless. Those are both good cheap cameras. The big thing is the motors. The motors are not available anymore. Those DYS Samguk motors, I mean, you may still be able to buy them, but DYS went out of business. I've just started releasing a new build based around the Eachine Tyro 119. The very first video came out Saturday. That's going to be a new updated beginner build. The real problem with the old beginner build is that the tutorial is a little out of date because it's like based on Betaflight. I forget which version of Betaflight. It's a little out of date though. So I'm working on updating it, and those videos will be coming out this week. Yeah. What you sipping on, dog? This area is Knob Creek. Knob Creek is my let's call this my budget bourbon. You know, I made a mistake some years ago. I bought like Jack Daniel's bourbon, right? And a Jack is pretty cheap. It's not terrible, but it's pretty cheap. And then I was like, let's try something a little more expensive. So I bought like Knob Creek or Maker's Mark or whatever. I was like, oh, that's nice. Well, I bought as a gift for someone a $100 bottle of bourbon, just because I wanted to really impress them. And it was Tennessee bourbon. So I was like, oh, from my home state of Tennessee, enjoy our finely crafted bourbon. Well, the problem was the person I bought the gift for was in another country, and you may not know this, but you can't just like mail alcohol to another country because, like, you know, laws. So I ended up having to keep it and drink it myself, and it was really good. I was like, oh no, now I have a taste for $100 a bottle bourbon. This was a huge mistake. So Knob Creek is my budget bourbon. Let's call it that. Lahin Ahmedov wants to know if OpenTX can play expo values on a Switch. Probably it can, Lahin. I'm not sure. Can you tell me more, like, what you're actually asking? I'm not sure. Can it play expo values on a Switch? Like, you want an audio readout. What do you want an audio readout? Stinkerton Bullet is a nice budget bourbon. You are absolutely right. I had a friend who drank Bullet for a long time, and I drank it for a while. I'm a Knob Creek guy myself. Maybe I just like the look of the bottle better, but yeah. Jay Larson in the Discord wants to know, does iNav need a flight controller with a barometer? Jay Larson, I'm not 100% sure whether iNav like absolutely requires a barometer. I think that iNav flight controllers at least have to support a barometer and a compass. Like iNav likes to have a barometer and a compass. I don't know if it needs it. Yeah. There you go. Post-it says, I saw 4 ports for LED on the controller. Is that true? Oh, you're right, Post-it. Wow, I missed that, my friend. Let's open this in a new tab and let's zoom in a little. I missed it. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't see the third and the fourth one. It has 4 LED ports. They must be over here and there. So this one is at the limitation is still the same though. Like these must be in series with each other. So the limitation about 32 LEDs is still the same. That's a Betaflight built-in thing. The fact that these pads are here, they still gotta be like in series. That's just how programmable LEDs work. Yeah, that's a tough one, Lashin. He says he wants to read like 75 Expo 5025. That's a tough one. If I had to do that, I would use a global variable. So I would set the Expo up. I would set the Expo up to be tied to a global variable so that the Expo value was like GV1. And then I would have a special function, write this down, special function that will adjust the global variable, and you tie that to the switch. You follow? And then you can read out the global value as another special function. That's what I think I would do. Dirk says, when does your Corridor Crew video come out? Did I miss it? It already came out, Dirk. It came out already. Yeah. Sebastian Berrio says, do you know any free simulators? What's the latest on free simulators, guys? Obviously, FPV Freerider is still out there. Are there new free simulators that we should know about? M. High says, hello, JB. I have a V-Fly finder. I can't find a way to make it beep on a switch instead of the motors. What should I do? So let's take a look here. I'm going to plug in this flight controller here. And let's bring this over here. Nice. Hello. Come on. Where's Oh, whoops. That's not plugged into my computer. That's just what I use to charge my phone. Where's my flippin'? There we go. Hang on. Plug in that USB. Oh, come on. Where are you kidding me? We're plugged in, right? Hang on, guys. Why are we not getting a for real? Well, I'd like to demonstrate this to you, but my flight controller is not plugging in. I just did this the other day. What the F? All right, there we go. No. What the F? All right, let's try a different USB port. Most exciting live stream ever. A man off camera tries to plug in a USB accessory. There we go. What the hell? All right, so here in the configuration tab, this is where you turn on the D-Shot beeper, and over here is where you turn on the regular beeper. Now, the thing is, this is probably turned on already, right? M-High? So the fact that it's not beeping means probably you got the wiring wrong. With the V-Fly Finder, there's 3 wires. There's 5 volt, ground, and buzzer minus. 5 volt goes to 5 volt, or it can go to buzzer plus. Either one. Buzzer plus is just 5 volts on all flight controllers. Ground goes to ground, and those 2 are used to charge the battery. And then buzzer minus is buzzer minus. If you haven't got the buzzer minus going to buzzer minus, then it won't beep on command. And that must be what's going on. Because the fact that your motors are beeping tells us that you've got the mode set correctly. Hang on a second. All right. Prefix Cactus wants to know, how is the S-Bus in pin different from the S-Port pin? I mean, Prefix, those are two different things. Smart Port or S-Port is the telemetry output on the receiver. It is used to communicate telemetry data between the flight controller and the receiver, and then that telemetry data is sent back to the controller. So, for example, you can look at the screen of your controller and you can see what the battery voltage is on your quad. That is telemetry data. You could look at the screen of your controller, and if you have a GPS on your quad, you could see the GPS coordinates. That is telemetry data. That data goes from the flight controller to the receiver via SmartPort, and then back to the controller. So that's telemetry. The S-Bus in on the receiver is used if you have redundant receivers. So FrSky, let's say you've got a very big airplane, and you want to have like a receiver in the tail of the airplane and a receiver in the nose, so that when you turn around to come home, you don't like fail-safe. Well, with FrSky, you couldn't do that. There just was no way to do that. With the RXSR, though, you take the S-Bus out of one receiver and you run it into the S-Bus in on the other receiver. And then when one of them like fail-safes, the other one will take over. So most people don't do that because our quads are small and don't really need it. License to Drive says, turtle mode tip, you don't need to use two switches to use turtle mode. Make the turtle mode switch turn on arming also. License to Drive, that's risky though, because if you flip that turtle mode switch and arm the quad, and then like if you've got two-stage arming and you flip that turtle mode switch, you may override your two-stage arming. So just whatever you do, be careful that you haven't accidentally made it easy for you to flip that switch and then cut yourself. That's what I would say. Joshua Owen asks, DJI goggles not showing errors in OSD for troubleshooting quad. Am I missing something? No, Joshua, unfortunately you're not. A little while back, DJI added the ability to have a lot of Betaflight OSD elements in the OSD, but the warnings element was not one of them. So unfortunately, and I've begged them to add that in a future firmware update because the warnings element is so important. But no, you're not missing anything. Jake Schuyler, will the CL1 budget build kit on the Rotorite store be in stock? When is that information available to you? So I'm not really involved with the Rotorite store. I'm a Rotorite cast member. I appear on the show, but I don't really tie myself in with their business. However, I did recently, I am on their mailing list. I saw a post on their Facebook page that they had CL1 in stock. Maybe it sold out though. Let's just look. Is it in stock still? Store.rotorite.com. It was in stock. Just a couple days ago, I saw there you go. CL1 built and tuned bundle in stock right now. That's not the kit though. That's the built and tuned bundle. Where's the kit? Budget build, built and tuned. Budget build kit. Oh, darn. It's out of stock again. Well, it was briefly in stock. I'm afraid it looks like it's out of stock again, though. Unfortunate. Yeah, everybody is having a hard time getting stock because of the coronavirus situation. China was shut down for a while. And even now, there's an interesting effect. So, nobody's flying anywhere. Duh, right? Well, commercial flights actually carry a lot of cargo. So cargo flights between the U.S. and China have actually been significantly reduced because nobody is actually taking any just passenger planes. So shipping to China has gotten slower. It's gotten harder and harder. So a lot of things are going to be out of stock for the foreseeable future. Anyway. Is GPS worth it on a drone? Looks like it doesn't do much, asks Zachary Strominger. On Betaflight, it doesn't do much. The main thing Betaflight GPS does is give you miles per hour That's really good. It's really accurate. So if you're trying to do speed runs, it's pretty cool. It could give you direction home or distance home. Betaflight does have a very, very basic return to home function, but it doesn't work very well, and I don't suggest relying on it. If you're doing iNav, then you could do a lot more with GPS, but Betaflight, not so much. Kevin FPV. Kevin says, Joshua, I crashed my quad into a pool yesterday. Everything works fine except my voltage readout. 0.0 volts in the OSD and Betaflight. Any ideas? Yeah, Kevin, my idea is that you crashed your quad into a pool and then you broke it. So you're lucky that's all that's wrong. Like, I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, just, you know, you broke it. You crashed it in a pool. There you go. That's my idea. Zachary wants to know if I have a tutorial on iNav. Zachary, I'm this new budget build that I've got, the Tyro 119. It supports iNav, and I will be doing an iNav setup for it, but that's going to be a little while, a couple weeks maybe. Calabrese says, my GPS on my 7-inch gets satellites, but then as I'm flying, I start losing sats. What could cause this? I'm going to guess that it's electrical noise, something about the way that you have mounted your GPS unit. I mean, I'm just guessing here. As you start flying, the electrical noise causes it to lose sats. It's my best guess. Maybe figure out about, like, you know, rearranging the location of your GPS. Zero Mode FPV in the Discord says, the props on my Tiny Hawk are eating my antennas. I cut the VTX antenna and now the receiver one. What should I do? Mount your antennas so they don't get hit by the props. Okay, easier said than done. What I like to do, pardon me, I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. Forgive me. What I like to do is use some kind of zip tie, and I zip tie and I kind of hold the antenna out of the way. With the Tiny Hawk, do you mean the Freestyle? The Freestyle is more likely to eat antennas than a regular Tiny Hawk. The Tiny Hawk does a good job keeping the antennas out of the way. Robert Forrester says, I used my GPS this weekend. I lost video behind some trees, so I flipped my rescue switch and regained video, turned off rescue, and kept flying. Yeah, that's the best case scenario, Robert. The thing is, like, GPS rescue, sometimes when you flip the switch, it has a sanity check and it thinks things aren't right and it just disarms the quad. The quad falls out of the air. So I wouldn't want to rely on it if I were, like, flying over the ocean. I wouldn't be like, yeah, let's just return to home. Because, like, sometimes it just goes, nah, I'm done, and disarms. But, like, if you've lost video and you're gonna crash anyway, and no one or nothing is around for you to crash into, that's the other thing. Like, I don't think it's responsible to have the quad powered when you aren't in control of it, and there's a possibility that you'd hit a person. So some people say, if I lose video, I hit angle mode and I power up. Well, I mean, if you're at a farm behind some trees with nothing to crash into, what do you got to lose? But if you're at a park, I don't like that. I don't feel good about that. But, yeah, the best case scenario is that you activate GPS and it starts to fly you home, and then you're good to go. You get it back. INFPV wants to know, if I had my choice, would I fly a toothpick more or a 5-inch? 5-inch all the way. Toothpicks are great, but 5-inch are better. I love 5-inch. Doghouse FPV in the Discord. Thank you for being a patron, Doghouse. Do you have any suggestions for best practices for pre-flight checks on your builds before you put them in the air? Yeah, Doghouse. So there's a couple things that you got to do. You got to set failsafe and test failsafe. You test failsafe by take the props off, arm the quad, motor starts spinning, turn off the transmitter. Motor should stop. If they don't stop, don't fly. Figure out what you did wrong in the failsafe. I confess that I've been doing this long enough that when I build like a FreeSky quad, like I know that my radio, I know that the FreeSky D16 receivers get failsafe from the transmitter. So as long as the transmitter is set to no pulses. So I confess that I don't test every single build because I should, but I don't. But especially as a beginner, you have so many beginners, the quad fail safes, and it just flies off to the never land. And it's like, that's entirely on you for not testing failsafe. If you test failsafe, that should never happen. So I test failsafe. The other thing I do, and I do this almost every time I arm the quad, is you'll see me do this if you ever watch like my DVR. You arm the quad, and then before I start to fly, I just kind of go and pitch forward just a smidge. Or maybe I'll go, I'll go, I should show you with my hand, not with the sticks. You can't see what the stick's doing. I'll just pitch forward a tiny bit, or I'll just rock on the roll axis a little. And what that's going to do is that's going to tell me if my props are on wrong. Because if my props are on wrong and I pitch forward or I wobble a little on the roll axis, it's going to go and disarm. And it's better if that happens before I raise the throttle to go fly. So that's another check that I do. You know, I'm not sure what other like pre-flight checks I do. There's probably a lot of stuff that I pay attention to that I like don't think about. Like I always use 2 battery straps because I think 2 battery straps are more than twice as strong as one. One battery strap, if the battery starts to kind of lever out, it creates a stress point. 2 battery straps prevent the battery from, it can only kind of slide forward and backward. I think that's, if you use 2 battery straps, you will never break a battery strap. If you use 1 battery strap, you'll often break a battery strap. Make sure the XT60 is out of the way of the props. I always route my XT60 underneath the battery strap in such a way that it will not be in the way of the props. Get chopped almost always. Yeah, make sure your damn camera's recording. Nothing worse than doing an epic flight and then realizing you forgot to hit record. That's never happened to me. There's some, yeah, I guess. What do you guys do? What do you guys do for pre-flight checks, huh? Let's see. IADFPV says you need to update the old photos on your website. Yeah, so I've been a little busy lately, but I have been working with Scarecrow FPV to get new photos for my website. Thank you, Scarecrow. J.R. Pellegrini is his actual name. I've been working on it. I gotta tell you, I spend most of my time making videos and not enough time like working on my website. I try to stay up, but mostly I just want to make videos. Yeah. Joseph Sutton wants to know about advice for props on the Holybro Copus 2 with T-Motor F40 Pro motor, F40 Pro 3 with 2400 kV on 4S. For freestyle, you would want to skew a little bit towards a lighter prop. A great freestyle prop for a 4S 2400 kV motor, because that's not a particularly big motor. I believe the F40s are 2306 in size. I'm pretty sure that's right. For a 2306 2400 kV, pardon me, coronavirus. I think like the Gemfan Hurricane 51433 is a fantastic prop. It's not too heavy of a prop. It's not too high pitch. You're not going to get like shocking acceleration, but it's okay, and it's a really nice, smooth prop. Sorry, guys. I'm almost completely recovered from my cold that I got in DC. I blame Bach Grinder. I mean, look at him. Doesn't he just look like the kind of guy who's going to give you a cold? Okay, I shouldn't discriminate. Sorry, Bach Grinder. I'm almost completely recovered from my cold that I got in DC, but if I talk for like 40 minutes at a time, I do start to get a little throat irritation. Anyway, Stephen Clark wants me to explain the prop numbers, 5143. The first 2 numbers are the diameter. The second 2 numbers are the pitch. The diameter is obviously the diameter. The pitch is basically like the steepness of the pitch. There's a lot of looseness. Like 5.1 props are not necessarily 5.1 inches in size. And the 4.3 versus 4.6. That doesn't necessarily mean exactly, but 4.6. But generally, a higher pitch prop from the same line will make more thrust and just have a more aggressive pitch. Musicero1111 says, can a parallel discharge and storage charge? Yes. You can parallel charge, you can parallel discharge, you can parallel storage charge. You have to observe the same safety precautions as always, but you can do all those things. Wall FPV has bad range with the DJI system. Do I know the problem? I mean, Wall FPV, the good news is it's not the channel. The DJI system should have a roughly comparable range to an analog system at the same output power. Maybe a little better depending on your tolerance for breakup. But, I mean, what's bad range? One of the things that happens more often than you might think is that the MMCX connector on the air unit pops out, but you don't notice it. That's going to significantly affect your range. If you have consistently terrible range, like I had a guy reach out to me, he said, I'm at 1200 milliwatts, I'm 50 yards away in clear space, and I'm getting 4 megabits per second. I was like, it's just messed up. Contact DJI. Contact support. Stinkerton wants to know why pitch is measured in inches instead of degrees. So Stinkerton, here's the reason why. Because if you were to think about the prop simply as being a flat blade, okay, then you could define the pitch based on the degrees. But a prop is not a flat blade. A prop, it may be like flat near the hub and a prop may be steep near the hub and then flatten out near the tip. I don't have any props nearby to show you. So a prop is actually, its pitch is actually more rightly described as something called advance ratio, which is to say, how far forward would it move through the air for one rotation? And the advance ratio takes into account the entire sort of shape of the prop. Now, so that's why it's measured in inches. It's the number of inches forward that the prop would move. And for props that don't have a consistent pitch along their entire length, that makes more sense than to say like pitch in degrees. But again, vendors play very fast and loose with these numbers. A lot of times vendors will come up with different designs, and I don't think they're necessarily measuring the exact advance ratio. They just know like the steepest pitch prop in the line needs to be like a 519 or 5149. And the thinner, the lower pitch needs to be like a 4.3, and they just kind of fudge it. Yeah, anyway. License Drive says, how do you measure the advance ratio of a prop? That's a good question, License Drive, and I don't know the answer. So if the prop was constant pitch, then you could calculate the advance ratio based on the degrees, right? Just treat it like a screw, right? If you know the pitch of a screw thread, you know how far the screw is going to move for one rotation. But like, if you think about it, air is a medium that moves. So like if you spin the prop one time, how far forward is it going to go? I don't know. I'm sure there's math. I'm sure there's math that they do that tells you the advance ratio. Anyway. Yeah, Boyd in the Discord wants to know, anybody have any input on running a 5-inch quad, 615 grams all-up weight? That's relatively light, by the way, Boyd. I think below 650 grams all up. If it's got a GoPro on it, that's pretty light. If it doesn't have a GoPro on it, then that's more typical, because you'd be at like 680 with a GoPro, maybe a little more. How much is the nuke? I think they're about 80 grams, so 9,700. Yeah, anyway. 5-inch quad, 615 gram all-up weight on a 30 amp 4-in-1 ESC. 6S blasters, 5143 props. The Lumineer Razor 30 amp continuous 40 amp burst. So here's the thing, Boyd. The number one thing I think you're probably asking about is the ESC. You have a 30 amp ESC. Most quads are going to be fine with a 30 or 35 amp ESC because most 5-inch quads, the battery can't deliver enough current to overrun that ESC. So your ESC has a 40 amp burst rating, which usually the burst rating means 10 seconds continuous. So that means it could take 40 amps or 160 amps for four motors, 40 times 4. It can take 160 amps for 10 seconds. I'm going to tell you, as a guy who's done a lot of battery testing, there are basically no batteries out there that will do 160 amps for 10 seconds. So what's the point of having higher rating ESCs? More headroom is the short answer, and marketing. So having more headroom does matter. You'll be able to abuse a 50 amp or a 60 amp ESC more aggressively than you would a 40 amp ESC. Also, that 30 amp continuous 40 amp burst, that could be fudging. I mean, I'm not trying to accuse Lumineer of anything specifically. I'm just saying, in general, when you see an ESC with a 30 amp rating, the manufacturer might not have rigorously tested 30 amps continuous for 2 or 3 minutes at a time. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But I think that if the 30 amp rating on that ESC is honest, and for a Lumineer ESC, I would assume it was, then you're fine, because your battery isn't going to deliver enough amps to break it. So. Noob Droney says the prop advance ratio is calculated at 75% of the cord. Noob Droney, does that mean 75% out from the hub or 75% in from the tip? Interesting. Killa Bees asks, is my video about smart audio from 3 years ago still valid? Unfortunately, Killa Bees Betaflight 4.1 added a new function which is called VTX tables. I got a video about that, and smart audio no longer works unless you set up the VTX table first. 75% out from the hub. Noob Droney, that's interesting. So it sounds like if what Noob Droney is telling us is right, then the way they calculate the advance ratio is they measure 3/4 of the way out from the hub. They take the pitch there, and then they just calculate that as the advance ratio. I didn't know that. It's pretty interesting. Yep. K May says, I just broke the gyro on your flight controller. Can you give some insight as to why it broke? I mean, K May, I assume that you're getting the no gyro warning in Betaflight telling you that the gyro is not responding. Hard to say why it broke. I mean, if you crashed a bunch of times, eventually something's going to break. Maybe that's what it was. Oftentimes, the way that a gyro breaks is that a solder, one of the legs, the solder cracks on, pardon me. Knob Creek bourbon, everybody. The solder on a leg will crack after crashing. However, there is a way you can try to fix this. It doesn't work all the time, but you've got nothing to lose since the flight controller is hosed anyway. What you do is you put the flight controller on a sheet pan and you put it in the oven. And you heat the oven up to, you have to be at 600 degrees, don't you? 750 Fahrenheit. Can an oven get that hot? Oven reflow. How does an oven get hot enough to reflow solder? What temp does solder flow at? Is he gonna... Let's see. Yeah. So here's what people do. But you can't... That only goes up to 230 Celsius. That's not hot enough to reflow solder. Well, I've looked into this before. Basically, you use your home oven to reflow the solder, and it'll fix the crack. Popular Mechanics says 375 should be fine. 375 Celsius? 375 Fahrenheit. Solder doesn't melt at 375 Fahrenheit, does it? No, you mean Celsius. Well, anyway, basically what you do is you put the flight controller in your oven, you put the oven on the hottest temperature, and you put that for a couple hours, let it, half hour, whatever, let it heat. It flows the solder, and sometimes that fixes cracked gyro. 375 Fahrenheit, says Adam Bostwick. No, I don't think solder flows at 375 Fahrenheit. Solder, what temp does solder flow? Let's look that up. Solder flows between 450 and 550 Celsius. Or, yeah. 450 and 550 Celsius. 6040 solder melts at 190 Celsius. That's more like it. So it sounds like an oven could... I know that people do this. I'm just trying to figure out the temperature. 361 Fahrenheit for 6337. Okay, anyway. Let's stop digging into this. Popular Mechanics in the Discord says I've reflowed ICs on video cards at 375 degrees a bunch of times. So basically, you put it in the oven at like 400 degrees Fahrenheit. You leave it in there till it gets good and hot and all the solder flows. Then you turn the oven off and you let it cool. And if there's a cracked trace, sometimes it'll fix it. And that's how you can try to fix a gyro. But you're not going to fix a gyro by flashing. It's once it says no gyro, it's broken. Wall FPV says, hey, JB, I want to start racing, but I don't know if I should build an analog system or digital. Wall FPV, for racing, there's no question that you should build an analog system. Almost nobody is set up to handle digital systems at organized races. The timing systems kind of work, but if they're set up with a DVR to record, for like bigger races, if they're set up with a DVR that's recording the laps for replay or for you know, if somebody says you missed a gate or anything like that, they just won't be set up for digital. So for the other thing is that the variable latency of the DJI system, it is completely flyable, but when you're at the highest levels of racing, where a 10 millisecond change in latency will throw off your muscle memory, the DJI falls behind. So for racing, definitely analog. Just the way to go. I see. People are telling me the oven reflow method doesn't completely melt the solder, just makes it weak enough to reflow. Interesting. Interesting. Michael Getting says, my motors just stop when I hit the throttle. Michael, I'm going to guess that you have a runaway problem. So if there is a list of like 4 things that can go wrong with the quad, and what they all have in common is that the flight controller is confused about how to make the quad move a particular direction. Like when the flight controller tries to make the quad roll left, the quad actually pitches forward. And what happens is that the flight controller tries harder and gets it wrong more. And the quad will whoop, fly into the air, flip. It'll go flying 30 feet in a direction. Betaflight has a protection for this when it detects that this situation is happening, and it disarms the quad. So I'm going to guess that what's happening is when you hit the throttle, Betaflight starts trying to flip out because there's something wrong with your quad. And then runaway protection shuts it down. There are 4 things that you need to check are board alignment. Is the board facing front? Number 2, motor mapping. In other words, is the back left motor the back left motor? Motor direction. Are the motors spinning clockwise and counterclockwise the way that they should? And prop. If you put a clockwise prop on a counterclockwise motor or vice versa, then that'll happen. Swiss FPV says, now that smart audio is gone, what are they using the additional channels at a Crossfire for? That question makes no sense, Swiss FPV. Smart audio is not gone. Where do you think it's gone? I'm missing something here. How do you lower the runaway threshold, asks Whitmead. Whitmead, the parameter you're looking for, and I do this on all my quads. You're not going to see this on this flight controller because this is just a little random flight controller I keep on my desk for demonstration purposes. Thank you, iFlight. But the parameter is this one. Hang on. It's in the CLI, and thanks to autocomplete, we can find it. It's runaway takeoff deactivate throttle %. That's the param. You can't see that, can you? You can't read that. I'm going to guess you can't read that. Can I duplicate? Can I not duplicate a frickin'... No, okay. Well, anyway. It's runaway takeoff deactivate throttle %. That's what it is. And I set that to 5% on all of my quads. And what that does is runaway protection is active until I raise the throttle past 5%. And what that means is that as soon as I raise the throttle, runaway protection is no longer active. But before I raise the throttle, that's why I like go beep, 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 beep before I fly. Because if I've got a prop on wrong and it tries to flip out, runaway protection will shut it down. And the reason I set it at 5% is the default in Betaflight is 25%. And that means that runaway protection doesn't disable until the throttle gets to 25%. And I've had this happen. I remember vividly the final straw for me. I took off. I slowly climbed, and I was going to do like a split S through a tree branch. And I hit the tree branch, and the quad disarmed and fell out of the sky. The quad was powerful enough that it was climbing at like 20% throttle. And I didn't do any like boop, boop, boop throttle punches. So when I hit the tree branch, runaway protection was active, and the flight controller went, something is wrong here, and it shut down. Like, oh, screw that. So I set it to 5%, so it's disabled as soon as I arm. But then I test it before I raise the throttle. Dave Adsit says, is it possible to purchase quads or parts that aren't made in China? No, not really. There are a few companies that don't manufacture in China. Like I believe KISS flight controllers and ESCs are fabbed in Germany. I think maybe that's what I've heard. Almost nothing isn't made in China anymore, including surgical masks. Aiden Rocky, how much would it cost to build or buy a good X-Class? Aiden, the minimum, I think, to get into a cheap X-Class is around $600. That's just for the quad. $600 or $700. That's what I've heard from other people. A good X-Class, you're going to be at 6S voltage, for example. That's not going to fly as well as like 10S or 12S. Okay? I mean, it's okay. People do it. Don't get me wrong. But for a good X-Class, I think you're looking at $1,200, $1,300, maybe $1,500. The parts are just so damn expensive. Motor, $100. ESC, $100. PDB, $80. Flight controller, still $30, $40. Same price for flight controller. Frame, maybe $200, maybe $300, $400, depending on if you get a premium one. There's just nothing cheap on an X-Class, especially if you're going for 12S. Jimmy Fleming. Armatan Frames is definitely not American. Armatan, they ship out of Asia. I'm not sure the exact country. I'm sure they don't manufacture in America. Yeah, no. 507RC says 3M here in Minnesota makes lots of masks. Yes, that's true, but where does the filter? I've been reading about this situation that people need more surgical masks, but the filter material is in limited supply, and it's like only made in one place in the world, and then we're all boned. So anyway, Taiwan. Somebody's saying that Armatan is based in Taiwan. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I thought. That's what I was going to guess. So. Doghouse FPV says, what's the algorithm used in Betaflight to detect that the craft has crashed and needs to be disarmed, armed again before flight. Doghouse, you're talking about the runaway protection. So here's how the runaway protection works. It's a very esoteric question, but I'm glad to have the opportunity to answer it. There's a thing in the PID control. So the PID controller is the thing. It's the piece of code that makes the quadcopter fly. And here's the PID controller's job is basically to say, what is the quadcopter doing? And is it what it's supposed to be doing? So like the quadcopter is supposed to be rolling left, but the stick, but actually what it's doing is it's not. It's just standing still. And then the PID controller says, oh, well, we need to spin the motors and make it roll left. Oh, okay. So there's a concept in the PID controller called PID error. And when the quadcopter is doing exactly what it's told to do, PID error is 0. And the more that the quadcopter isn't doing what it's told to do, the higher the PID error will be, and the harder the PID controller will push the motors to make the quad do what it's supposed to do. So what happens when you have a runaway situation is this. Let's say the flight controller is rotated 90 degrees. So the flight controller thinks front is that way, but the motors think front is this way. And you arm the quad and you pitch forward. Except when you pitch forward, what actually happens is the quadcopter, the quad pitches forward, but the flight controller perceives that the quad is rolling to the left. Think this through with me, because the flight controller is rotated 90 degrees. And so the flight controller goes, no, pitch forward, don't roll left. And it speeds the motors up even faster. And so the quad pitches forward even more. And the flight controller goes, no, pitch forward. And it speeds the motors up even more. You got a feedback loop. You see what I'm getting at? Every time the flight controller tries to make the quad pitch forward, it perceives that it's rolling left. And you end up, what the quad ends up doing is going, whoop, it twists and it just flies through the air. And before we had runaway protection, the motors would be at full throttle. Some of them, like one motor would be at 0 throttle, one motor would be at full throttle, and it'd be coming right for your face. And then hopefully you hit the disarm switch quickly. But runaway protection detects the magnitude of PID error. And when the magnitude of PID error gets too high, it shuts the quad down. It's like, something's effed up here. Just stop. Okay? The problem is that, let's say you take off and you're flying and you smack into a tree and the quad goes, whoa, right? In that moment when the quad yaws crazily, PID error is massively high because the quad was supposed to be flying straight and instead it yawed violently to the right. So what you want is, and at that point, the quad shouldn't disarm. The flight controller should be like, fix this now as hard as it can. So that's why the way I set my quad up is before I raise the throttle, runaway protection is active. So that when I bump the roll and pitch stick, if the quad starts to freak out, it'll disarm. But then the minute I raise the throttle, now we're flying. And if you hit a tree or something, I want you to fight it. Anyway. But the answer to your actual question, which is how does it know when to disarm and when it's crashed, is there's a threshold. And if PID error goes above that threshold, the whole quad shuts down, as long as runaway protection is active. Anyway. Can I use the DJI goggles for racing? Asks Wall FPV. Yeah, the DJI, the AV input on the DJI goggles has acceptable and consistent latency in the latest firmware updates. It didn't used to, but it does now. I forgot something at the beginning of the stream because I was so busy talking about coronavirus. I wanted to show you guys this. I got a question for you guys. Hang on. Really? Not that one. Interesting. All right, we'll show this one. So I got some VTXs in the mail from this company, Panda RC. And I looked at the prices of these VTXs and I'm surprised. They're really inexpensive VTXs, but I've been doing some research, and some people I'm talking to are telling me that they're pretty good. At these prices, I'm kind of like, could they possibly be any good? Now, this isn't actually the one they sent me. They actually sent me some of these in the mail, and I'm trying to decide what to do with them. Panda RC. They have only a couple of these that are actually sold in the United States. 5804 X1. What's the X? I think the X1 is the one they sent me. That's Phaser FPV. That's not even in the US. How about Pyrodrone? No, that's also not the one. Let's do an image search. This is the one they sent me. It's a pretty good looking VTX. Oh, of course, Race Day Quads has it. It's a pretty good looking VTX. Look at this little VTX. Metal case. So, super slim. 800 milliwatt output. MMCX, $32. How does that compare to like the... My favorite go-to mid-tier VTX is the Rush Tank. I just put this on one of my builds, this 20 millimeter one. Hang on. I haven't tried this one yet. I just put this on one of my builds. It's a freaking 800 milliwatt 20 millimeter VTX. And it's $40. Rush Tank. This one here, $32, 800 milliwatts, metal case. So I'm curious if you guys, I'm going to just kind of keep an eye on the chat. If you guys have any experience with Panda RC, they came to me a few months ago, like 6 months ago, and they said, hey, can you try out our VTXs? But the problem was that all their VTXs were not legal in the US. They had illegal channels. And I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to really make a big deal out of it if people in the US can't buy it. And then they revamped their firmware to get rid of the illegal channels. And they're like, okay, so now Race Day Quads carries them. But you think it's plastic case Ion FPV? I have one over on the desk, but I'm not going to go get it. It could be plastic. It looks metal, doesn't it? I mean, plastic would hold heat. I would hate... It would be, I don't know. Anyway, if you guys have any experience with it, let me know. Message me offline or let me know in the chat. Maple FPV says it looks like rebranded iFlight. I'm pretty sure that Panda RC doesn't rebrand. I'm pretty sure they're a manufacturer. 800 milliwatt gets hot fast. Well, funny you say that. There's an option in Betaflight if you have smart audio to set the power to 25 milliwatts when you're disarmed. It's low power disarm, and it's right there in the video transmitter tab. I have started using that. There's an option to do low power disarm until first arm. So at the moment that you plug in, it's at 25 milliwatts. But then as soon as you arm, it goes to 800 milliwatts and stays there. The advantage of that would be that if you crash and disarm, it still stays at max power, which I kind of feel like is a good idea. Because I want to be able to find the quad. That reminds me of a thing that happened to me recently. Let me see if I can find this video. Speaking of crashing and being at max power. Let me see if this is the flight. Is this the flight? I'll know as soon as I get to the... Not that one. Hang on. You guys are going to love this. Oh, yeah, this one. Okay. So, I was testing this quad. This quad has on it the Cadex Vista. And as you may know, the Cadex Vista has a lot of problems with heat buildup. As long as you're flying, it's okay. But if you are, it gets really, really hot. So, I'm flying this thing. Doing my thing. And I decide to go for a range test. Now, I know that I can fly the Cadex Vista up this road. I have a good idea of where it will fail safe. So I'm watching my RSSI. I'm at, oh, you can actually see. Hang on, check this out. Look right here. Signal 3, that's the RSSI of the goggles. RC signal 3 down here at the end, that's the RSSI of the controller. I'm using the DJI controller here too. So 3 bars, no problem. And I'm talking, and I'm like, yeah, I have good range. Caddx Vista has good range, and it's pretty good. Signal's starting to break up a little here. This is DVR from the goggles, by the way, so you're seeing what I was seeing. Now we're at 2 bars. Now we're at 3 bars. I've done this before. I know that as soon as I crest this hill, it's going to go up to 3 or even 4 bars, and I'm going to be fine. Caddx Vista has pretty good range. Yeah, I bet I can fly all the way to the end of my street. Yep, I bet I can. 3 bars. Oh, 2 bar, 1 bar. Now, at this point, I'm like, I ain't making it to the end of the street. But I know that if I just turn around and punch out, as soon as I climb up, I'll be okay. Nope. Fail safe. So, now here's the thing. The Caddx Vista is at 1,000 milliwatts because 1,200 is illegal. It's at 1,000 milliwatts. And I turned off the low power protect, the high temperature protection, because if I crashed in the grass, I don't want it to drop to 25 milliwatts, and then I won't be able to find it. But now it's sitting in the grass, and it's super hot. It's freaking, I'm seeing in the goggles, as the goggles connect briefly, I'm seeing over temperature. Stop flying now. And I'm running down the street, trying to, holding up the transmitter, trying to get a signal back so I can arm it and fly it. It was fine. It was fine in the end, but yeah. Anyway. Zachary Strominger wants to know, do you need a ham license to start flying FPV? To use analog video transmitters, you are legally required to have a ham license. I will say, in the U.S., lots of people fly FPV without a ham license. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying if you did start flying it without a ham license, like, you probably would never get in trouble for it. But you technically do need a ham license. Simon Saucy says, I got some crashing videos. I'm so embarrassed. Like, I've flown that so many times. I'm a little bit surprised that I fail-safe there. I guess I normally turn around just before that tree. So I was like, I bet I could fly all the way to the street. Nope. It is pretty good though, because like you guys, a lot of times people don't really have a perspective, but like, let me hang on. Stop that. Oh, my mouse is making like 17 mouse clicks for every one I make. No, doofus. Oh my God. Why does my mouse wheel make like 17 mouse clicks every time I scroll the wheel one time? Why is that? Where's my flip? That's where I want to be. What I wanted to see was, like, how far is that? Can I right click? Measure distance. Click on the map. Okay. From my house to like about here. 360 meters. That's not that far. That's not that far. I mean, there's some trees and stuff. That's at 1,200 milliwatts. I got 300 meters. Well, if I had punched out, it would have gone farther, I guarantee. It's not that far, though. I guess it tells you that the range of the DJI system is heavily dependent on environmental conditions. Mark Spatz, UAV Tech, just did a 4-kilometer shot with the air unit, not the Vista, to be fair. No, Raymond, that's not because I've been drinking. That's not why. Can I go to 3D mode on this? Hang on. You guys can see this. My neighbors every so often mow a dirt bike track in this field, and then they run ATVs and dirt bikes up and down it. That's what you're seeing there. Hang on. Where's the... So it was about this far. Can I do 3D mode? How do I... I know there's a way to do 3D mode. Can I... How do you do it? I can't figure it out from here. Maybe there's no 3D. No, I know there's 3D imagery for this location. Nope. All right, well. Oh, well. I guess we can't see it. I kind of want to show you guys the trees and stuff. I guess you can kind of see them here. We got a big tree line here and a big tree line here, and then another tree line here. And that's definitely, oh yeah, see, look at this big stand of trees here. That's all got to be affecting the range. So I don't want to unfairly misrepresent the DJI. Yeah, no, yeah, Boyd, but Google Maps can also do 3D now. I just want to say it's 400 meters, but with some obstructions, so that definitely matters. Anyway. Marcelino Romero says, I see your house in 3D. Yeah, I know. I've done it before. Well, I don't know why I can't see 3D right this minute. It's got to be user error. User error, clearly. Anyway. Alrighty. Middle mouse? Is that it? Nah. Something's up. Maybe I'm zoomed in too far. Maybe that's it. All right. Well, I give up. Right click. No. All right. I give up. Anyway, there's a little story there. All right. More questions. Let's see. Go to settings and lower the mouse setting. But it should just be one click is one click. Anyway. All right, well, you got to give me some questions now, guys. Everyone enjoyed my story so much that under the compass. It's not under the compass, though. Down under the compass. Where's the compass? There's no compass. Look, there's no compass. There's no... We got to solve this, boys. We got to solve this. See, there's no compass. Where's the compass? No compass. Satellite? No. No compass. All right. Have I been flying Betaflight 4.2? No, I haven't, Copter 612. I haven't tested that yet. Betaflight 4.2, I think it's supposed to be coming in April. Is it in around April, May timeframe? Looking forward to that. I'm not... I see. The chat has stopped updating for me. That's the problem. Why has the chat stopped updating? Live chat. Got to reload this page. There we go. I see. You guys, it looked like you guys weren't commenting. It's just that the chat stopped updating for me. Yeah. No, I have not tried 4.2. A lot of cool stuff coming in 4.2. Hit the globe option in the right. There's no... All right, let it go. Jay Larson says, my GPS altitude on the ground is 160 meters. Is my setup wrong? No, Jay Larson. I think that GPS altitude is often assumed to not be very accurate. And you really need a barometer to do altitude accurately. Calabrese 221 wants me to know... Bob Rugi says there's a company in the States that produces flight controllers. They built them cheaper due to automation. Hard to imagine that a U.S.-based company could build flight controllers cheaper than the Chinese. Everything is supply chains and everything come to China. So I don't know about that. What would cause F-port telemetry to stop working when the battery's hooked up versus on USB? Good question, Boom. My best guess, Boom, is that you have something else wired to the same UART. And because you got something else wired to the same UART, when you plug in the battery, it conflicts with your receiver. Your receiver gets power from USB, but the battery does not. I mean, the whatever else it is that's on the UART does not. Well, I know that the 3D option should be one of the options on the right side, but it's not there. That's my point. It's not there. That's all I'm saying. There's got to be a reason why it's not there, but it's not there. Anyway. How do you store all the lipos around your house when not actively using or charging them? Safely in a bunker, a fire-lined bunker, as everyone should. And definitely not just laying on the table behind me or in a cardboard box, which would be unsafe. Definitely not. Oh, I can't focus it. I'm doomed. I'm never get this back. Hang on. Focus. Okay. I've messed it all up now. Okay. Hello, everybody. Okay. The right thing to do is to store it in an ammo box or a bat safe. That's how I store mine. They're all at storage voltage. And one day if I burn my house down, I'm going to be sorry. But so far, that hasn't been an issue. Piranha32 asks, why does Betaflight insist on being at least 100 meters from the home point to activate return to home? The GPS has enough accuracy to work reliably even just a few meters away. The reason for that, Piranha, there is a reason. You could debate whether it's a good reason. Because Betaflight doesn't require you to have a compass. So how does Betaflight know what direction you're moving or facing when it doesn't have a compass? It uses the GPS heading indicator, but here's the problem with a GPS heading indicator. GPS heading points the direction you're moving, okay? So let's say you took your quad and you roll to the side and you just slide to the side. The GPS heading indicator will point to the side, but you're not actually facing to the side. So now, let's say you roll to the side and you come to a stop. At this point, Betaflight thinks your quad is facing this way, but it's really facing this way. Now, you following me on that? GPS heading is based on the direction you're moving, not the direction you're facing. So now, when you activate return to home, what's going to happen? Betaflight thinks you're facing this way, so it's going to pitch forward and start to fly home. Except what actually is going to happen is it's going to go to the side. And very quickly, the GPS heading indicator is going to wait, we're going this way now. And the GPS heading indicator will update and it'll correct itself. But at the very moment that you trigger GPS rescue, if you don't have a compass, or if the compass is just messed up because racing drones are super noisy, the quad will fly the wrong direction for 10 meters maybe before it straightens itself out. And the problem is that they don't want you to activate return to home when you're close to your home position and have the quad just smack you in the face because it doesn't know which direction it's facing. The difference with iNav is iNav wants you to have a compass and assumes that you're going to have a compass, and therefore it will correctly know the direction that it's facing. Betaflight doesn't make that assumption. You can turn off sanity checks, and then it will let you return to home even when you're close to your home position. But the sanity checks are kind of a big deal. So, Raku in the Discord says, I was ripping super hard. When I came back, my bat had a fruity citrus smell. Let it sit in a grill for the rest of the day, then charged it back up. No! When you smell that fruity citrus smell, it means that your cell is punctured. The battery must be discarded. It's dead, man. It's dead. No, I don't charge it anymore. Discharge it in the grill. Do not. No, it's done. When you smell that smell, your battery is dead. No excuses. No second. Like there's like, if the battery has a little bit of a dent, but IR is okay, maybe I won't throw it out. But if you smell that smell, she done. It's done. Anyway. Zach Kegley. Only people with the Discord link can find your video. What video? It's not listed on my channel? You mean the live stream is not listed on my channel? No wonder the number of viewers is so low. We're having a little private live stream. What do you mean it's not listed on my channel? That's weird. Hang on. How is it not listed on my channel? YouTube sub feed. It should show on my... Hang on. I do have an unusually low number of viewers right now. I was noticing that. It's only in my notification. No, it's right here. Look. This is an incognito window. It's right here. Live now. I'm live now, baby. Here it is in my videos. I don't know if you didn't get a notification, but it is. I'm live now, baby. No notification. How could there not be a notification? Well, it's too little too late now, but that may be why there's fewer people here. It's just us. It's just a private chat. That's weird. That's pretty weird. Anyway, whatever. It's all good. We're just here. We got only a half hour left, so it's no big deal. Thanks for letting me know, though. Interesting. I know, Simon, it's not going to show up in search results until after it posts. It's not showing up on the new feed or the home page. I don't know why that would be. I guess YouTube is... I've been demonetized, guys. I've been demonetized. I don't know. You got to hit that bell. There you go. I have some lipos that puff slightly after use but go back to normal. Is this okay? Are they dangerous? Leighton Lance, here's the deal. When the lipo puffs, it has off-gassed. There's a gas. I don't know the exact chemical reaction, but something comes out of the cell and turns into a gas. And then what happens, people think, well, then they unpuffed. The gas doesn't go back in. It leaks out because the cell isn't airtight. Tyler FPV says, you talked about coronavirus, so they hit your stream. Maybe. That's sort of plausible. Probably not true, though. So when the battery puffs and then unpuffs, it has been damaged. The fact that it unpuffed doesn't mean it's okay now. If it's still flying okay for you, yeah, all right. But it is taking damage. It's probably a low-performing battery to begin with. So I would expect it to not perform well and then to get worse over time as you puff it more and more. But, send it until it stops being, stops flying good. EricCube16, what's a good radio for thumbers that's not too expensive? FreeSky X-Lite is a good thumber radio in my opinion. TBS Tango 2 is a great radio if you only want to use Crossfire. Christian Kale wants to know, with the TBS, is it better to have the antenna vertical or horizontal? Christian, unless you're doing truly long-range stuff, it doesn't freaking matter. I have it horizontal at the back of my quads because I think that's best for durability. The fact is that if you have 5 gigahertz video, typical FPV 5 gigahertz video, Crossfire is going to have so much range that it kind of doesn't matter what you do with the antenna. I've seen people like tape the antenna to the bottom of the leg, which is like the worst thing you could do from the perspective of range. And they still get plenty of range just because Crossfire is so powerful. So, Zachary Strominger, how do you throw out an old LiPo? Discharge the LiPo completely. If you really want to be safe, after you have discharged it, twist the leads together. Cut the XT60 off and twist the leads together. Only do that after you've discharged it, because if you twist the leads together when it's charged up, you will get a lot of sparks and maybe a fire. So after it's fully dead, twist the leads together and solder them together. Then it can never charge up again. And then you can throw them in the trash. They don't have like mercury in them or anything that's environmentally harmful. You can also take them to a recycler if you prefer. I'm not sure how recyclable they are, to be honest. Abi Veltig wants to know, Veltig? Any advice for tuning micros with an F3 on Betaflight 4.1? No RPM filter and terrible oscillations. Avi, I would, if you have terrible oscillations, you got to start with a mechanical check. Is there like a broken standoff or something, a loose screw, something that's making those vibrations? If you have a lot of oscillations, you could lower the P gain, but that may be a place to start. We probably need a little more information about the build to give better advice. Swiss FPV wants to know, does it make sense to fly 6S with an ESC less than 50 amps? Yes, absolutely. Swiss FPV, with 6S, the amps actually go down because the volts are higher. I mean, a lot of 6S ESCs have high amp ratings just to, like, impress you, but yeah, a good 6S 35 amp ESC is fine. Tyler FPV and someone else in the chat whose name I missed want to know how to discharge a battery before you twist the leads. Good question. Check this out.
It's about to go. Get ready with the fire extinguisher.
We're not gonna watch 12 minutes of this, but we actually made a Rotor Riot video.
Welcome to Rotor Riot.
Hey, who's that handsome guy? We made up 10 ways to discharge a battery. And some of the things we tested were... Oh, here we go. Still talking. We tested the salt method.
$1 worth of salt, so we're just going to pour a whole bunch in. We're just going to submerge this in here. Ah! See why you... You're going to put it in there. That's it. Is it bubbling? It is bubbling. If electrolysis is happening...
So anyway, salt bucket it does work. It takes a little time. One thing to know about the salt bucket method is it does create chlorine gas, small amounts of chlorine and hydrogen. If you were to do the salt bucket, I had a guy reach out to me. He said, I do chemistry. And he said, if you were to put the salt bucket in an enclosed environment, a 1300 milliamp hour 4-cell would make enough chlorine gas to seriously hurt you. So if you're going to do the salt bucket, do it like outdoors on your porch or something, and the air movement will blow the chlorine away. But the salt bucket method, or what I do personally, is...
I believe battery down.
They don't want to...
You'll find with a live wire.
God, he has a... I thought this was going to... Something is a...
You should watch this video. Yeah.
And it basically kills...
Use a battery killer. I use a smoke stopper. How about a nail gun? Nice.
Oh!
The guy. Nice. How about a circular saw? It's a ridiculous video. Where's my smoke
and the
stopper?
number one purpose
There
for
we
a
go.
smoke stopper is to protect against short circuits in your quad, like you've accidentally bridged something that you shouldn't have. The first time you plug in your battery, the smoke comes out.
Okay, so it's a smoke stopper, but does it also discharge, or did you have to change something?
I've created this, which is an XT60 that I have just bridged the pads. So
Which that's
when
a
I do
dangerous
this,
thing to have.
Yeah.
Shouldn't use that for anything but this.
If you put this on a battery by itself,
Anyway, that turns your smoke stopper into a discharger, and that's most commonly what I do. All right. You want to see us destroy batteries, you can go check that out. Murahar001 wants to know, how do you do a barrel roll with a drone? Murahar, I've got a 30-day, 3 packs a day challenge on my channel, and the video has stick overlay. So you can actually go find that video on my channel. It's one of my it's from like last Friday, and you can see that. Travis Baker wants to know, all other variables ignored, how would a quad react to 4-blade versus 3-blade props? 4-blade props will have, I guess, a little, if all else is equal, they'll have a little bit more drag, probably a little less top end, better cornering, higher amp draw, and less responsive. Yeah. Killer Bees wants to know how I do the stick overlay. Killer Bees, there is a video about stick overlay. It's I'll paste it in the chat for you. It's a lot of work. It's not easy. If you have Premiere and Blackbox, you can do it. Jacob says, any noticeable pros and cons on the upcoming Radiomaster TX16S? That's the Jumper T16 clone, but not really a clone, just a parallel developed by one of the guys who started the company. The T-Master TX16S has very similar specs, but is less expensive than the Jumper. The question that no one can answer yet is, how's the quality going to be? Because if the build quality is bad, then that $25-30 you saved on the price is not going to make you happy. And we won't know the answer to that until we start seeing the first batch get out into the wild. Yeah, so it takes time. It'll take some time to know. The specs on the T16S look good. I have high hopes for it, but I've seen enough cases where a promising product failed into execution. So I'm confident that Radiomaster, if there are any problems, they will quickly resolve them. But we've all seen cases where a new product looks good on paper and then there's some problem and you wish that you hadn't bought the first generation. So I'm optimistic, but also realistic. So that's what I would say. Led Sled wants to know if I'll be doing any mods to the Tyro 119. Led Sled, I'm going to build it stock first, just to sort of get the build done. I may do some additional mods after the words. Prefix Cactus, what about the Nirvana? Is the Nirvana still okay? Prefix, the support for the Nirvana seems inadequate for my standards. The development of the firmware seems to have been basically abandoned by FlySky and Underground FPV. Underground FPV seems to have given up their website, and it seems like they must be out of business. If you go to Underground FPV's website, it's just like a link farm right now. So there is development on the firmware going on in the open source environment, but it's nowhere near as many people and is working on it as like OpenTX. If Nirvana got rolled into OpenTX, if OpenTX had support for Nirvana, I would feel more enthusiastic about recommending Nirvana, but I don't know. I haven't heard that that's happening. So I got to say, Nirvana, if you already have one, make the most of it, but I couldn't really recommend that you buy one today because of the sort of lack of support. Yeah. Joshua Owen, my Banggood build is doing fine, but it's so damn heavy with an air unit and a GoPro, and the Banggood frame is not the super lightest, and 2208 motors, and it's like 800 grams all up, and it's just is not that fun to fly for me. I'm actually doing it as a giveaway on my Patreon this month, so it's still in great shape. Whenever I build a quad and it's in beautiful shape, I kind of ask myself, am I going to commit to this, or do I want to give it away before I beat the hell out of it? Like, I don't want to, like, fly it just enough to beat the hell out of it and then be like, oh, crap, now I can't give it away and I don't want to fly it. So. Folks in the Discord are talking about the Betaflight stick overlay. The problem with the Betaflight stick overlay is that it's character-based. And so you have, like, 1, 2, 3, 4 notches of resolution left and right, as opposed to like the Brain FPV Radix, which has a graphical overlay, which is much better. The thing I like most about the black box overlay that I use is it has something called stick trails. Hang on. Hello? YouTube, load up. It has something called stick trails. where you can...
All right.
Let me turn that. So as the sticks move... Oh, there's no damn... I forgot to turn that on this one. I don't know how that happened. Of course, I picked the one video that I didn't have stick trails on. Here are the stick trails. And none of the built-in OSDs will do this. So it really helps you see the stick movements in a way that just a static stick overlay doesn't. You can tell the speed of the movement from the length of the trail, and you can kind of see a little history of the movements. And I like that a lot. I really like that. Ciati's here. Ciati's going to be streaming after me at 10 p.m. Any gimbal upgrades for the DJI gimbals? Quadkenstein. I'm sure that DJI must sell replacement parts, or at the very least you send it into their support center and they'll swap the gimbals for you. There are no aftermarket gimbals that I know of. I mean, with enough ingenuity and determination, anything can be made to work, but I don't think there are any aftermarket gimbals, and I'm not sure you can buy the gimbals separately even from DJI. Recovery FPV wants to know if anybody has ever had a virus jump from their computer to their flight controller. 2 of my flight controllers can't connect, not even in Impulse. I don't know what's going on there, man. It sounds like your drivers may be messed up, and none of your flight controllers would work. But there's no such thing like as a virus that infects flight controllers from computers. That's just not a thing. Yeah. Jake Schuyler, should I use 3-blade props or 2-blade props on my $60 non-acro drone? I don't know what $60 drone you have. I suspect that it's some kind of a ready-to-fly, and you should probably use whatever the manufacturer gave you. If it was designed for 2-blade props and you put 3-blade props on it, you may overheat the motors, so you don't want that. In general, 3-blade props fly better than 2-blade props for racing and acro. 2-blade props are more efficient as you get into larger props like 7, 8, 9, 10 inch and higher. They're going to be more efficient but have less thrust. I see Avi is getting an answer from, hopefully from Ciati. Yeah, about his tuning question. Ciati will probably have a good answer. Ciati knows a lot about micros. He knows about other things too, but... Famous Mitch Hedberg joke. Ciati used to know a lot about micros. He still does, but he used to. Mitch did better, of course. John Solo asks, what stick ends do you recommend for a hybrid pinch grip? John, I use the stock stick ends, mostly out of laziness. Thumb on top, forefinger on the side. These are just the stock ends on the T16 with the little pokey spikes. I know some people who fly thumbs only don't like the pokey spikes because they leave little dimples on their thumb, but I hold mine kind of like this. It's thumb on top, but then kind of finger as kind of a reinforcement. I guess you could call it hybrid pinch. It is definitely not a pinch like this. I hate that, but a little hybrid pinch like this is what I do, and that's the stick end I use. Yeah, Boyd wants to know, is there much of a gain from True D to Fusion or Rapid Fire? 10% better? First of all, Boyd, Fusion is not on a level with Rapid Fire today. LiveU FPV, he is a great, he knows a lot about electronics and soldering and surface mount repair. He did a video where he showed the actual analog decoder receiver chip in the modules. And Rapid Fire, the long and short of it is that Rapid Fire has a higher sensitivity chip with just better specs. And that's part, but not a whole, of the reason why Rapid Fire beats everybody else. Fusion uses the same sort of cheaper, worse performing chip as the other traditional diversity modules. At least that's what I remember. I hope I'm not getting a fact wrong. I hope I'm getting at least the gist of it. That Rapid Fire has a higher performance analog chip than the others, including Fusion. Now, TBS has indicated that they will be releasing an updated version of the Fusion with the upgraded chip. And the Fusion's software is quite good. The diversity algorithm, the frame combining, etc., it just doesn't have the raw sensitivity to match the rapid fire. I would be optimistic that when the Fusion gets that hardware upgrade, it will match or beat the rapid fire. Time will tell, but I think that'll get it close. If maybe it'll beat it. The beautiful thing about this is that the TBS Fusion actually comes apart. You just pull it apart. It's got tape holding it together, and pins. And the back board is the radio board, and the front board is like the screen and the module. So you'll actually will be able to upgrade your existing Fusion module to the new hardware if you've got one. So, go back to your question. How much better is rapid fire than basically everything else on the market, which has inferior hardware? That's a tough question to answer because it's more than just the range. If you were to measure the range, you might find that you only got 10 or 15% more range. Part of that is because of the law of diminishing returns. It's easy to go from like 20% to 40% performance. But the closer you get to 100%, the harder you have to work to get just a little improvement. So if we were to say that rapid fire was 10% better than Fusion, that actually might represent like just as much work as it took to get from 50% to 80%. A lot of work. I think one of the advantages of rapid fire that is hard to communicate if you aren't actually flying it is that there is no white flashes. Like sometimes I turn rapid fire into legacy diversity mode and it's just like flash, 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 flash. And I'm like, what is, my eyeballs. Whereas I used to just not even see it, but it was there. I just got used to it. And when you fly with rapid fire all the time, you just don't see that stuff. So I think you get a more stable image with rapid fire in addition to just better range. The final thing I would say is if rapid fire is only 10% better, how much are you willing to pay for that extra 10%? Because don't you want just as much range as you can get? Well, maybe not. The question is, not everybody should spend $150, $160 on a rapid fire. A lot of people are going to be completely happy with a $90 module like TrueDX, like Wildfire, etc. They are all good enough, no question. There's no question that the rapid fire is better, and a lot of people feel it's worth the additional price. There you go. Ryan Clausen, there is no way to get turtle mode on one-shot ESCs. Cannot do. You have to have D-shot to reverse the motors like that. Tommy Zagers wants to know about this DJI goggle battery that Bob from RC Battery Kit made. Yeah, I saw that. I did see that. Thank you. So Simon Saucy says, well, I kind of want to stay in the TBS ecosystem. Simon, you're not wrong there, man. I mean, TBS brings a lot more to the table than just the raw performance because you get things like TBS Cloud and eventually TBS integration with Crossfire and Unify. And that might be more valuable to you than 10, 15% more range or whatever rapid fire brings. So. Or you might just want to support TBS because you believe they're a good company. God forbid. Joshua Kurmali, I upgraded to 4.1 and I did the RPM filter, but my filter slider stops at 1.5. Joshua, I'll tell you the reason for that. I said you want to get the filter slider to 2.0, but yours only goes to 1.5. Here's why. Any minute. There we go. If we go PID tuning tab, filter settings, if you have, see here in the upper right, expert mode, if you disable expert mode, it'll only let you go to 1.5. You have to enable expert mode, and now you can go to 2.0. And what I personally do is I hit this gear icon here. You may be barely able to see this, but I permanently enable expert mode Just leave it alone. Leave it all the time. So. Ooh, dark mode. Ooh. I don't know. What do you think, guys? Dark mode or light mode? Dark mode is sexy. That's true. I don't know. That's a tough one. What happened to turtle mode in 4.1? Asks Jerry Shacklefield. Nothing. It's right where it used to be, Jerry. If you don't see it, it means you don't have D-Shot enabled in the configuration tab. Dark mode. Oh, wow. The chat is by far in favor of dark mode. All right. I'm gonna go with the chat. I see 507RC says light mode. Even though he's a mod, his vote gets no more vote than anybody else. RC Boffa, dark mode is for laptops on batteries. I'm not sure that's true, RC. Do the screens that we use on laptops, there was a type of screen that used more energy when it was dark, not less, but I can't remember if that's a generation back. Anyway. When's my next beginner drone video coming out? Asks Carter FPV. Definitely soon this week. I'm not sure if it's tomorrow, though. Carter. I'm not sure. They are edited, and I need to get them posted. It may be tomorrow if the video I was going to do tomorrow doesn't get done instead. How to delete black box files from the flight controller, asks Marvin C. Marvin, that's a good question, man. Here in the black box tab, you will see activate mass storage device mode. Okay, hang on. Let me do one thing real quick. Let's add source. Hang on. Display capture. Left monitor. And what I want to do is this. Properties. No, I want to rename left monitor zoomed, and then watch this. No. There we go. We're going to zoom it in so you guys can see a little better. See, isn't that nice? Okay, so now look at this. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. Activate mass storage device mode. Okay. Put my head on top. There we go. When you hit that button, you'll get a new removable drive on your computer, and you can use that to you can, if it's an SD card, you can delete the files. If it is a flash chip, you need to hit erase flash right here. Erase flash right here. Let's say erase data flash. So if you have a data flash chip, you use the erase flash button. If you have a SD card, you activate mass storage mode and you delete the files that way. Techno FPV, if you have a data flash chip, you cannot delete the files from the removable drive. If you have an SD card, you can just highlight and delete the files. But for data flash chip, you have to use the erase flash button. Yeah. Piranha 32 says OLEDs use less power on dark screens. What about regular LEDs? I think LEDs use more power on dark screens. I can't remember. There was a type of screen that used more power to turn itself dark. I don't know. Let's see here. Oh man, it's 5 minutes to 10 o'clock. How about that? All right, guys, we're not done yet, but we're getting close. It's time for me to start plugging Aaron Ciotti. Aaron, spelled A-H-R-E-N. Not Aaron, not A-A-R-O-N. Aaron Ciotti. Aaron. I'm going to start calling him Aaron, even though that's not how you say his name. Aaron Ciotti. He's going to be streaming at 10 p.m. in just about 5 minutes on his channel. And he will post a link to his live stream if you want to head on over there. Also, Ken Heron is doing a 24-hour live stream. Oh, see, now here's, see, I've got to turn that off. Left monitor zoomed. There you go. Why do I have two of those? No, I didn't want to rename it. Ken Heron is doing a 24-hour live stream. I may go on there after this, maybe. Let's see how he's doing. Aaron's not ready. All right. No, you're ready, dude. Ken Heron's doing a charity 24-hour live stream. Live now. I guess he had to stop it after like 12 hours. Yeah, do it 2 hours? Oh, he's breaking it up. So he's still going. Isn't that nice? And I'll put Ciotti up here. Ciotti FPV. Here's his channel. You ready, Ciotti? It's coming, dude. Aaron said a no potty word. Uh-oh. Aaron, that sounds like the kind of thing he would do. It is pronounced Aaron. It's just not spelled Aaron. A-H-R-E-N. So thank you guys so much for turning out. I don't know why YouTube didn't show my... I only have about 250 people right now. I normally have closer to 600. Thank you guys for being the ones to make it. Everybody have a good week. Everybody be safe. I know that you come here to escape from this, but I feel it's my responsibility as a public person to at least say, stay in your damn house if at all possible. Don't go to that party. Stay in your house. Enjoy your family. Learn a new hobby. Stop killing old people by spreading disease. Distance yourself. We will get through this. Some of us won't get through this, sadly. Let's keep that number as small as possible, right? That's what we got to do. It's weird that the most valuable thing you could do right now is to just stay home and not be near other people. But that is literally going to save lives if you do it. It is literally going to slow the spread of the disease and make it so that more people can get the medical care that they will need. And they will need it. So just stay home. Let's play Velocidrone together. Let's, if you work from home. Spend time with your family. If you can't do that, I understand. Not everybody can. I'm not trying to judge you or shame you. If you are in a situation where you need to go out, if you do need to go out, do everything you can to avoid. Assume that you might have it and do everything you can to avoid spreading it. And someday we'll all look back on this and go, I was there. Yeah. But that's going to do it for this stream. More content coming this week on my channel. More episodes from the beginner build. The Gep RC rocket, I'm going to do a review of it. And other good stuff. Thank you guys so much. Aaron, post the link to that live stream, my friend. Post the link to that live stream. Anybody who wants to. Ronbo RC, I doubt I'm going to do a podcast. This kind of is my podcast. Yeah. There we go. All right, check out that stream. Giveaway, Glide repairs, and Acrobat Duo software setup. Thank you guys so much. I will see you next Sunday. See you later, everybody. Happy flying. You can fly while social distancing. Somebody comes up to you and says, hey, why are you looking at my kids with your drone? Be like, social distancing, sir. Coronavirus. Stay away. Bye-bye, everybody.